And welcome to Control Alt Deplete. This is episode 37, I think. I think it's 37. I believe so. I think it's episode 37. But
So it's quite a bit.
yes. We are on season 2. It's like episode 7 or something of season 2. I can't remember exactly. But yes. We've lost track, folks. We've lost track. That's where we're at. Anyway, I'm your host, Buckblind, and our other host on the right side of the screen, Mr. Bioshock. How you doing tonight?
What up? Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Oh, let's see here. We don't have that much to go over today, but we do have quite a bit of fun stuff to at least go over. We'll be covering, a little bit of news here. Got some hero talents later. Mainly just the hero talents today, I think. But, Anyway, let's jump into it for those who are watching. The weekly affixes this week, which currently it is Friday night, April 6th. So, you got a few more days of this. We've got Fortified, Incorporeal, and Sanguine. Sanguine. So that'll be going on until the 9th. And on the 9th, next week, because I figured, by the time people watch this, the week's almost over, so we should cover next week's affixes as well.
Yeah.
Looks like next week is going to be Tyrannical, Entangling, and Bursting. Also of note, it is the last Tyrannical week of the season, so if you need to try to hit a certain score or whatever, it's the last week to push Tyrannical scores next week, so get that done.
Yeah.
We've got Noble Garden event is currently going on until the 8th, so just a couple more days of that. There is some new stuff this year. The Duck Disguiser, which apparently takes 6 years to get all of them, and people are very angry. I think you get that through the quest line, right?
Yeah.
You said you got yours?
Once a year. Yeah, I got my first one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What does it do exactly?
I thought it was just like costumes for your pet or something.
Gotcha.
I think. I don't remember.
I haven't looked at it at all. So I don't know exactly what it does.
Yeah.
But there's also the little mini boss that you can fight. Dalen Swiftplume, I think is the name. And it'll drop rares, or not rares. It'll drop cosmetics, and then also has the mount, which somebody has gotten twice.
Oh, yeah.
And
I got it at my very first kill, and then I got it and like my fourth kill.
Yep. How many kills have you done that boss of now?
I don't know, 10, 11 times.
Okay, so yeah, he's gotten it twice in like 10, 11 times, and I've got 15 kills and not a single mount, so,
I heard they upped the chance today, though.
I heard that as well. You are correct. They say they increased it, so am curious to jump on there and get my kills in, probably in the morning before reset, and we'll see. Who knows? Maybe I'll come away with a mount in the morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty easy. There's an egg that'll spawn somewhere nearby. Whenever you get into the game, you open up your map. You want to go, if you're Alliance, you're going to go to Elwyn Forest. If you're Horde, you're going to go to Duratar. On your map, there'll be a little star, like it looks like a rare type marker. That's where the boss is going to be at whenever it spawns. And then somewhere nearby, it has a couple different spawn points. There'll be an egg. You click on it, you run forward, you click the extra action button you get, and it pulls the egg to you, and you just do that until you get the egg to the nest, and then that spawns the boss. The egg spawns, I keep seeing people say that it's every 10 minutes, but when I was sitting there for like 30 minutes, I saw it happening like every 5 minutes. So I think it's every 5. Quick. Yeah, it's pretty easy to go and do it. Let's put it this way: there's several times whenever I had gone and killed it on a character, logged out, logged into a new character, gone from Valdrakken, taken the portal to Orgrimmar, gone from Orgrimmar, flown down to Duratar, and as I'm landing, they have either just killed it again, or it's just about to die. So it's very, very fast to get him. So that's a plus. You don't have to sit there and wait every 30 minutes or something.
Yeah, or have to wait on the hour like the Hearthstone event.
Yeah, the Hearthstone event that I never got done. Well, yeah, maybe next time. Anyway, we also had some news about season 4. You want to take us through that?
I have to open up this ad. I mean the link.
Well, it's not
What?
like it's this part up here.
Oh, I see. Oh, season 4. Oh, it's starting. Oh, okay, yeah. Season
Yes.
4 starts on April 23rd, so the last day is the 22nd of April. And as for EU, the last day is the 23rd of April.
Yep.
It's not super relevant, but I'll be gone the first week visiting family in Reno.
Rip.
So me and Buck are gonna try and get some keys in Tuesday night before I go to the airport in the morning.
Try to
Yeah,
push our rating, see how high we can get up on the list.
yeah.
We'll see.
This is really dumb, but I don't know what I'm gonna be playing first. I have characters that I enjoy,
Right.
and I'm feeling them out a little bit. But I mean, I'll make my decision pretty soon here. I'm just kind of
Yeah,
just
you got a couple
playing.
weeks still.
Yeah, I got some time. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So get ready for season 4. It's gonna be a good season to
Yep.
get geared up quickly, get your buddies geared up.
Yep. I have no idea what I'll be playing in season 4. I can't figure out what main I want to play. Yeah, we all know it's gonna be Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
There's no question. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Demon Hunter can be terrible. It could be great. It's gonna be my main.
Yeah.
It's too much fun. Too enjoyable.
Yeah.
Um. Anyway, the other a little bit of tidbit about season 4 is there was some much ado about nothing apparently according to Blizzard. Uh, um, the crafted gear on PTR was showing as 6 item levels lower than the myth top level gear, whereas currently in the actual season 3, it's only 3 item levels, so it's only 1 rank. It's myth rank 3 basically is what
Yeah.
crafted gear is at, and what it was showing up as on PTR was myth rank 2.
Yeah. So
Now,
522 out of 528. Yeah.
yes, now Blizzard has come out and said that it was a bug, and that the actual rank will be myth rank 3, so it will be the 525 item
Okay.
level.
That's
I
good.
I
That's
gotta
good.
say though, I'm skeptical that it was a bug, because they did this with season 3 as well. They put the crafted gear at 6 item levels lower than the top gear.
Right.
Everyone went, "Excuse us, that's not cool because we all worked our butts off to get our crafting, because crafting is such a grind to get it up
Yeah.
there than now."
Right.
And people were mad, and all the crafters were mad because like you have to work so hard for crafted gear, not just players trying to get crafted gear because you have to get farm your aspect crests and everything, but also the crafters worked so hard because it takes like 7-8 months of grinding to get all of your professions to max. So it's a lot of investment into professions, and they did the same thing in season 3 where they made it 6 item levels lower, and they did not say it was a bug. They said it was intentional. And then everyone got mad, and Blizzard said, "Okay, we'll bump it up 3 item levels." Now they
Yeah.
tried it. I don't think that this was a bug. I think they were trying it again and immediately caught flack for it, and then they immediately changed it.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion on it. Blizz can say it's a bug. I don't buy it. But anyway, it should not be 6 item levels. It should be 3 item levels, because it should be, because of if it's 6 item levels, crafted gear becomes irrelevant at that point.
Yeah.
There's no reason to bother getting aspect gear. It's irrelevant. So I don't see them. I don't know why they would want to do that. I know some people, mythic raiders typically, are who complain, "Krill, you shouldn't be able to get as good of gear from crafted gear as mythic rating," or "you shouldn't be able to," they complain about mythic plus players being able to get mythic rating item level
This
gear
is
as
so
well.
dumb.
It's 3. Mythic plus is a separate part of the game than mythic rating, and it should
Yeah.
have just as high of a gear cap. If you want to say, hey, they should only be able to get myth gear from a higher level of mythic plus, sure, but there's no reason that mythic plus, I mean,
Can
as far
shouldn't.
as I'm concerned, mythic plus mythic rating, and PvP high ranked people should all be able to have the highest item level of gear. Plain and simple. And I know
Yes. Yeah.
PvP is usually a little even the highest PvP item level is lower than the max item level, right?
No, it's so right now this season's 489. So.
Okay, so it matches. Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
But I just to point out for PvP that 49's only in PvP, and then out in the world's like 454 or
And I think
yeah.
that's great.
That's what it should be. That's what it should be.
Yes. And honestly, I don't know. Like, I've often thought that maybe they should separate raid gear and mythic plus gear to be similar. Where, like, if you have raid gear in mythic plus, the raid gear item level is lowered. I don't know how you would do it, but it would lower it, and then mythic plus gear and raid would lower it. Because they're both PvE focused, I think it's a lot harder to do that. But I think also the fact that like most people are using Mythic Plus gear to get into raid as well because you can farm it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I think what I would argue the point against that would be if you separate them and make it to where Mythic Plus gear is basically dumb to use in raid and raid gear is dumb to use in Mythic Plus gear, just increase the drops in raid. Like instead of dropping 4 pieces of loot, have it drop 8 pieces of loot. That way you can get gear just as quickly as in Mythic Plus. That's just a personal thought I've had. I don't see them ever doing that, but my personal opinion has always been that Mythic Plus and Raid should be 2 separate aspects of PvE that should be separated and have their own gear tracks, and all of them should have their own, like, the same end goal as far as item level, just like PvP should as well. Anyway, that's just my little tangent. But yeah, so yeah, the crafted gear, I like that it's 486. I think I like that it was 486 for this season versus season 2. I think in season 2, I believe the crafted gear was max item level as well. And I don't have a problem with it. I don't mind that, but I do like that the crafted gear was 3 item levels lower. I don't want a 6 item levels lower because then it makes crafting feel irrelevant. But only 3 item levels lower. What's nice about that is you can farm that and you can do that and get your crafted gear, and you'll have very, very good gear, and you're completely fine with that replacing your best in slot if you don't get your best in slot. But what it does is it means that your best in slot piece is still out there. So it gives you something to keep striving for after you've gotten everything geared up. Whereas in Season 2, what did happen was basically with your crafting gear being max level, your crafted gear just became your best in slot gear. So it was kind of weird because it kind of meant once you have all your stuff crafted and then you have 4 or 5 other pieces of non-crafted gear that is best in slot, you basically have nothing left to shoot for gear. So I don't mind it being 3 item levels lower, but 6 is a bit of a jump. Anyway, now for the main event, hero talents. We've been going through the hero talents. Last episode we covered the 3 sets of hero talents for DK Death Knights. We covered the 1 set that is out so far for Demon Hunter. The previous episode before that, we covered 2 of the Druid ones, the Guardian Druid and Balanced Druid, and the Guardian Druid and Feral Druid. And then what was the other one?
We did Evoker as well.
Yes, Evoker, yes. Was it Scale Commander?
We did Scale Commander and Rubiata, which is now called Flame Shaper.
Flame Shaper, alright, yes. So if you haven't watched those, heard those, whatever, you can go back and check those out and see what we thought of those hero talents. Today, Bio is going to be covering a couple of the mage hero talents, and I will be covering a couple of the paladin hero talents, specifically the 2 prop pally trees. So take it away, Bio.
Awesome. So for the mage tree, for the hero talents for the mage trees, there's only 2 that are out right now. There's the Frostfire and Spellslinger. So Frostfire is, as you would guess, as fire and frost. And then Spellslinger is arcane and frost. People have high praises for these 2 trees. Like, they've hit the mark and pretty cool. Like, I'm certain as I go through it all, you'll understand. But visually, some of the abilities that are coming for these two trees look very promising. That they might be visually nice to see. um, we'll start with Frostfire though. So the first node is called Frostfire Mastery. So every time you damage with a fire spell or a frost spell, you gain 1 stack of fire or frost mastery, depending on what spell you cast. And Fire Mastery increase your haste by 1%, and Frost Mastery increase your mastery by 1%. For 12 seconds, and it stacks up 8 times, but getting another stack does not refresh the duration. Yeah. From what I understand, is you can get slight stacks from other buffs. Like if you're Frost Mage, you can throw in a Fire Blast and get like a stack. You wouldn't be able to get. I don't know how the stacking will work, but I don't see you getting like. Maybe you get both with the last node. I'll get into that, but we'll continue on. So the first thing I'm going to go through is just the middle tree, and the reason being is because the first spell that came back here is very highly anticipated, the Frostfire Bolt.
Yep.
That replaces Fireball and Frostbolt when you have it, and basically it has the slow of a Frostbolt and the damage over time is a Fireball. It's a 2-second cast, which is a faster cast for Fire, because Fireball is a 2.5, and Frost is like a 1.8, so it's a little bit slower cast time. But you get the extra damage. And it says here, so Frost Firebolt will give you a stack of both Fire and Frost Mastery, so that's good to know.
For sure.
That way you can get your haste and your mastery. Continue down that middle tree. We have severe temperatures. Casting frost or fire spells increase the damage of your next frost firebolt by 6%, stacking up 5 times. Or you can get the Frostfire Bolt cast time reduced by 10%. My understanding is that severe temperatures is just better in general.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Probably it sounds like it would be.
Yeah. Excuse me. Carrying on, we have Frostfire Empowerment. Your Frost and Fire spells have a chance to activate Frostfire Empowerment, causing your next Frostfire Bolt to always crit and explode for 80% of its damage to nearby enemies, and it's an instant cast. So it's just that'll be good for shattering as a frost and for continuing your combustion crits as fire.
Quick question on that. Do you happen? I don't. Probably hasn't been worked out, but any idea what like the proc per minute of that is expected to be at? Have you seen anything on that?
I want to say it was like every 12 seconds.
Because that sounds very strong.
Yes. I think
just the fact that it's instant cast. I mean
and
that
it has to explode.
Yeah, tying into the last talent node, like that Frostfire Empowerment definitely works better with severe temperatures, the increasing the damage of it. Because I mean, you know, if thermal conditioning cast time is reduced by 10%, you can get more off. But if this is going to make it instant cast, and you're increasing the damage, like that's way better, I think.
Yeah. So how
and it becomes AOE.
Yeah. So to put it in a little perspective, for fire, you would never cast Frostfire Bolt during combustion unless you had the instant proc.
Gotcha.
So you would be using your Pyre and your Phoenix Flames and your Fire Blast, and you'd be shooting off your instant Pyroblast, which would be stacking up your severe temperatures very quickly. Which you get that 6% stacking up 5 times, and then you get the instant cast Frostfire Bolt to put in with your combustion. It's just a lot of damage. That being said, that's the same with Frost as well. Like you got Glacial Spike increasing your damage, you have Ice Lance increasing your damage, your Comet Storm. Yeah. So yeah, Frostfire Empowerment.
I like it.
It seems good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna hit the last node, and then we'll go into the sides. So the last one is Flash Freeze Burn. So Frostfire Empowerment grants you maximum benefit of Frostfire Mastery and refreshes its duration. So when you get that instant Frostfire Bolt, it gives you the max stacks of your Frostfire Mastery. And that's the point on your Frostfire Mastery will give you both the fire and the frost. So you get the haste and the mastery. And on top of that, when you activate Combustion or Icy Veins, it gives you Frostfire Empowerment, which is the instant cast.
Nice. I think
So that's, yeah, go
to
on.
me, what the most important part of that, honestly, that talent there is the fact that it refreshes the duration of
Yes.
your Frostfire Mastery. Because yeah, I mean, adding stacks isn't going to refresh it. So if you get that proc, that could be really big if you're. It also
Out to
kind of
right
makes
now.
it. It also kind of, to me, seems like it makes it slightly interesting. Because if you get that proc and you have like 5 seconds still left, well, not five, but maybe like if you're at like 8 seconds still left, do you want to hold on to that just a little bit to like hold on to your
Yeah.
proc to wait till that duration is almost up and then to max? I just wonder where the min maxing on that's going to be at.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Is it better? Yeah, because I mean, you have two ways you can do it. You can just, is it better to use it instantly just because of the pure damage it's going to do, or is it going to be better to hold off and just use it more of a way
I,
to reset the duration and just keep your mastery up 100% of the time?
so I think personally, which is how the talent Sphere Temperatures works, when you pop Icy Veins, you're not going to use it right away. You want to build up that stacking damage.
Right,
So you're
right.
going to be naturally waiting a little bit anyways.
Gotcha.
I don't know if you'd wait that long unless you really don't need to fill your like burst rotation right away, especially for fire. But I think, which is how if you pick severe temperatures, I think you're just naturally gonna wait a little bit until you get the max stacks. That makes the
True.
most sense to
Yeah.
me.
No, that does make sense. You're right. Yeah. So
Okay.
it might kind of it kind of works together then.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey,
Um,
you can't be right here, but right in the middle of the camera. I just had a big old tail in front of my camera instead of me, and now you're stuck on my shirt. There we go. All right. All right.
so moving on, we have the left side of the tree. So the first one's imbued warding. So when you use blazing barrier, it casts ice barrier at 25% effectiveness. This also affects mass barrier, so you give your teammates the extra shield. People were saying it makes sense that it wouldn't have arcane, but they said it would have been really good if it had arcane, because the arcane one reduces the magic damage taken by 15% or 25 or something for the how much it absorbs.
Right.
But it's, I mean, it's 25%. It's still a nice little extra survivability. Meltdown, which is interesting, is like you melt slightly out of your ice block, and ice cold, allowing you to move slowly during ice block and increase your movement speed over time.
Hmm.
And then ice block and ice cold trigger a blast wave when they end.
That is
So
interesting.
like the moving with the ice, depends on how fast you move, I guess. But
Yeah.
the blast wave, I don't see that being the best in Mythic Plus, because you don't always want to knock stuff away.
Right.
It just depends.
Yeah.
But from what I was hearing, people are saying that imbued warding is probably the way to go.
I would agree because I think the meltdown sounds very situational because it's
Yeah.
basically, I mean, when is it going to really be useful to move during ice block? I think the only time that I would really think that would be useful would be if there was some kind of a, some big ground AoE thing that'll instantly kill you if you get hit by it, that you just mess up and get stuck in and it's going to stay there. And then
Yeah.
maybe that movement you can pop ice block and be able to slowly move out of it before ice block wears off. But I mean,
Yeah.
that is also counteracted by just not messing up the mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like imbued warding's probably the way to go there. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Moving on, we have isothermic core. So when you cast Comet Storm, it casts a meteor at 100% effectiveness on your target's location. And then likewise for fire, when you cast meteor, it casts a Comet Storm at 150% effectiveness onto your target location. That's just good AoE. That's going to help both. My understanding is that both Comet Storm and Meteor also count towards your Frostfire Mastery stacks, which is, again, is just nice. Um, just a little, it's just a nice little buff. Moving on, we have excess frost. So for fire, reaching maximum stacks of frost mastery. So this is talking, I'm going to re-say that again. If you're playing fire and you get maximum frost mastery stacks, your next Phoenix Flames also cast an Ice Nova at 200% effectiveness when you consume excess frost, and the cooldown of Meteor is reduced by 5 seconds. So,
Sorry, my brain thought it was Frost Nova, and I was thinking, how do you free something at 200% effectiveness? No, Ice Nova makes more sense.
yeah. And then for Frost, it's reaching maximum stacks of Frost Mastery. I don't know why it says they're both Frost Mastery, but anyways, Frost Mastery causes your next flurry to cast an Ice Nova at 200% effectiveness when you consume excess frost. The cooldown of Common Storm reduced by 5 seconds. I don't know if that's right. They're both stacking Frost Mastery, not Fire.
No, that makes sense because the talent is called Excess Frost.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, yeah, Excess Fire's on the other side. I forgot.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, the last 3 talents, the far right, we have Elemental Affinity, the first one. So for Fire, the cooldown of your Frost spells is reduced by 10%. For Frost, the cooldown of your Fire spells is reduced by 30%. That's not a big deal because you're lowering the cooldown on Frost Nova, Fire Blast, Cone of Cold, like not really huge damaging ability, so it's really not like amazing. The next choice is the Flame and Frost.
That would also lower cooldown, like if you're. Oh, I guess yeah. If you're fire, then okay, never mind. I was thinking like Blizzard or not Blizzard, but like Frozen Orb, but that's not gonna work. That's only because you don't have that as fire.
Yeah.
Okay, ignore me.
So Flame and Frost, the other choice of that node is the Fire Cauterize resets the cooldown of your Frost spells. The base cooldown shorter than 4 minutes when it activates. And then for Frost, Cold Snap additionally resets the cooldown of your Fire spells. I honestly, they don't sound like the greatest to me. I don't know. I think Flame and Frost is better than Elemental Affinity for sure. But you really don't have that many spells that are Frost if you're Fire, and likewise for Fire for Frost. So it's not like a standout node. It's like, oh, that's really cool. It's just kind of mediocre.
Yeah. So remind me, what does Cauterize do for fire? Because I don't
Cauterize
play fire at all.
Cauterize is like the cheat death that gives you the health that burns over time.
Okay.
It's like when instead of dying, you go to like 35% and it kind of like ticks away.
Gotcha. And Cold Snap just basically resets all of your big, like your
ice block.
Yeah, your ice block and that kind of stuff. So yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess like if I don't know what fire spells you have. I guess
like you'd have Fire Blast and Dragon's Breath.
Yeah, I was gonna say I guess Flame and Frost probably would be best because that would give you that on demand, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like
I don't know.
I
think it just
not really
depends.
A standout.
Yeah, it sounds like it's more about utility than anything.
Yeah.
I could see as a Frost Mage, perhaps Elemental Affinity would be good because if that's going to reduce Dragon's Breath and what was the other one? The other AoE, your knockback or whatever. What's it called?
Blast Wave.
Blast Wave. Is that fire?
Yeah, it's fire.
So if you if you just have a flat out 30% reduced cooldown, that does probably make those a bit worthwhile as a Frost Mage because you're going to have a much shorter cooldown on those.
Yeah.
That's the only time I would say looking at this if you're fire, you're probably taking Flame and Frost. If you're Frost, you might consider in Mythic Plus at least taking Elemental Affinity because that could potentially mean that you'll have your both of your AoE blinds and stuff available every pull potentially. But I don't think ultimately I don't know that it makes a huge difference which one of these you take.
Yeah. Next we have Frostfire Infusion. So your Frost and Fire spells have a chance to trigger an additional bolt of Frostfire, dealing the Frostfire damage, and this effect generates Frostfire Mastery when activated. So basically, it's like a Lava Burst proc from an Elemental Shaman, just that chance to boot off another ability.
Nice.
Which is just nice because you're stacking up that Frostfire Mastery as fast as you can. And the last talent of this hero tree is called Excess Fire, and for fire, reaching maximum stacks of Fire Mastery causes your next Fire Blast to apply Living Bomb at 150% effectiveness, and when this Living Bomb explodes, reduces the cooldown of your Phoenix Flames by 10 seconds. Living Bomb recently got buffed, so it's not amazing, but it's definitely better. At 150% effectiveness, it's definitely welcome, because it doesn't hurt to have that extra Living Bomb damage. And then for Frost, it's almost the same thing. So for Frost, reaching maximum stacks of Fire Mastery causes your next Ice Lance to apply Living Bomb at 150% effectiveness. When this Living Bomb explodes, gain a Brain Freeze proc. So it's just more damage. So I mean, since you're getting both Excess Frost and Excess Fire, using your Icy Veins will give you the instant Frostfire Empowerment spell. So your Frostfire Bolt's instant. That'll give you the excess fire stack. That'll give you the excess frost stack. This is a lot of procs when you use your cooldowns, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of the tree?
I like it. Like I'm looking at it more from a Frost Mage perspective because I don't
Me
know
too.
anything about Fire Mage. But what I like about it is I feel like the majority of the talents in here really it doesn't seem like it's going to really change your rotation
Yeah.
very
Just
much.
add a couple stuff.
Yeah, it's all very passive. The only real change I see is that when you have your Frostfire proc and then it's you've got it at full strength, then you consume your proc.
Yeah.
That's really the only change in rotation. Everything else, I feel like it gives you a lot of freedom to just play it the way you normally would.
Yeah.
And then just consume that proc when you're ready to consume it. And it's just kind of I like how a lot of it is like, hey, you use this spell, you're just gonna also get the fire mage version of that same type of spell, and vice versa. I like how that's just kind of ties into it, because it's nice. Because it's, as you'll see with the with one of the Lightforge tree, this doesn't change. The Frostfire tree doesn't change your rotation at all, other than one extra button occasionally that you're just consuming the proc. Whereas other trees, such as the Lightforge tree or the Aldrachi Reaver tree for Vengeance, forces you to completely change the rotation and the way that you play it. So I like that there's minimal impact in the play style, and it just enhances everything. That's what I like about it a lot.
I think people are really excited to have Frostfire Bolt back.
I agree. Yeah, no, it's a fun spell.
It looks visually very pleasing to have like the fire and the frost together. It's really cool.
Yeah, because I remember using Frostfire back in the day. I didn't use it very often, but I used it back in the day sometimes.
Yeah. All right, I will move on to the Spellslinger, the Arcane Frostmage tree. This tree I like more than Frostfire. I know they're both good, and they're high up on people's lists of what's best right now that's come out so far.
I mean, that's a good problem to have, that both trees are good.
Yeah, because you could be like Windwalker monks and just not be good.
Right.
Anyways, I will continue on. So Spellslinger, your very first node is called Splintering Sorcery. So when you consume Nether Precision, Arcane, or Winter's Chill Frost, you conjure a splinter that fires at your target. Splinter is a conjured raw magic into a sharp projectile that deals damage. Splinters embedded themselves into their target, dealing additional damage over 16 seconds. And this affects stacks. So it's just extra damage that stacks, which is pretty cool. I believe, so Winter's Chill procs would be like the Ice Lance procs. And the Nether Precision, I believe, is like the Arcane Missile procs. We'll start to the left this time. The first talent is called Augury Abounds. Casting Arcane Surge, which is like your cooldown ability for Arcane, conjures 8 splinters. And then during Arcane Surge, whenever you conjure a splinter, you have a 100% chance to conjure an additional splinter. And then for Frost, casting Icy Veins conjures 8 splinters. During Icy Veins, whenever you conjure a splinter, it has a 100% chance to conjure an additional splinter. So you're just getting like these high ramping stacks. And as you get into their talents, you'll see like kind of what the splinters do. It's pretty interesting. Going down, we have the first choice node is called Slippery Slinging. You have a 40% increased movement speed during alter time. And alter time is just the buff you put up that when you click it again, or I mean when you go back in time, it kind of puts you back where your health was when you used it. So it's just a little bit of a movement speed. Or you have Look Again. So Displacement has a 50% longer duration, a 25% longer range, and leaves behind a mirror image. Displacement is the ability to go back to where you blinked from. It's just more mobility, and I guess the mirror image is okay for leveling, because it kind of takes threat off you. Next we have Shifting Shards. So Shifting Power fires a barrage of 8 splinters at random enemies within 40 yards over its duration. Are you familiar with Shifting Power?
Was that
It's like,
the Night Fae ability?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what exactly it does though.
So basically, like, it pulsates damage, and as it's pulsating, it reduces the cooldown of your spells by a certain amount. So it's just to help you get your cooldowns back.
Gotcha.
I'll go to the last one because it makes sense from some of the other talents. So the very last node is called Splinter Storm. So whenever you have 8 or more active embedded splinters, you automatically cast a Splinter Storm at your target. A Splinter Storm recalls all embedded splinters to you, dealing their remaining periodic damage instantly. After a brief delay, they unleash a devastating barrage of splinters, dealing damage to your target for each splinter in the Splinter Storm. For Arcane, Splinter Storm grants you clear casting, and for Frost, Splinter Storm applies Winter's Chill. So it's just
I
more
I
damage.
really like just visually what I'm imagining for
Yeah,
that ability.
yeah,
That's interesting. I like that.
yeah. It looks pretty interesting for sure. The middle 3 is starting with Controlled Instincts. So for Arcane, while targets under the effects of a Nether Tempest, 20% of the direct damage dealt by Splinter is also dealt to nearby enemies, damage reduced beyond 5 targets. That's just more AoE. Direct damage from Arcane Splinters resets the duration of Nether Tempest. So when you're attacking, you don't have to reapply a Nether Tempest when you have max Arcane charges. So to just kind of keep it up passively, which is just nice little effect there. The second choice node in the middle is between Reactive Barrier, so your Prismatic Barrier, the Arcane one, or Ice Barrier, the Frost one, can absorb up to 50% more damage based on your missing health. And then the max effectiveness is when you're under 50% health. Or you have Phantasmal Image, your mirror image summons one extra clone, and mirror images now reduce all damage taken by an additional 5%. I think the Reactive Barrier's better. I think so anyways. Just a bigger shield is nice, especially if you're at 50% health.
Yeah, I agree. I've always found mirror image to not be ever since mirror image used to be a offensive cooldown.
Yeah, you should actually do damage.
Yeah, and ever since they made it defensively, I really just don't find mirror image nearly as
Useful.
strong. Yeah, I feel like even just comparing it to other defenses, I don't feel like mirror image is very strong.
It really isn't, and the images die so quickly.
Yeah. So I mean I feel like reactive barrier is the way to go.
Yeah. Um, the last talent in the middle is called Spell Frost Teachings, and for arcane, direct damage from a splinter has a 5% chance to summon an arcane echo that deals damage to all nearby enemies and increases the damage enemies take from you for by 6% for 6 seconds. So just a little bit extra damage is nice. For Frost, direct damage from splinters have a 5% chance to summon an icy comet that deals damage to all nearby enemies and increases the damage enemies take from you by 6% for 6 seconds. Again, it's just a little bit of AoE, a little bit more damage stacking up. It's just a nice little buff that already going to happen with your splinters. It's just this tree kind of like really works together, just really buffing those splinters up. And the last 3 on the right, we have Splintering Orbs. So the first 8 times an enemy is damaged by your Arcane Orb, conjure a Splinter that fires at the damaged target. And then bonus Arcane Orb damage is increased by 10%. So, Arcane Orb is like that ability that you shoot out, and how many targets it hits, it gives you a stack of arcane charges.
Right.
And how this kind of works, the rotation right now of how the talents work, is when you use Arcane Orb, you get full stacks, and you shoot off an Arcane Barrage, and you have a 40% chance to launch another Arcane Orb just passively.
Gotcha.
It does the same damage as the normal one. Gives you max stacks again, so you're kind of just trying to fire off barrages and trying to get those procs. So I mean, you can get, if you're getting lucky, those Splintering Orbs can be very strong. Just getting a lot of splinters out. And the same goes for Frost. So for Frost, the first 8 times an enemy is damaged by your Frostfire, or not your Frozen Orb, you conjure a Splinter that fires at the damaged target, and Frost Orb damage increased by 10%. So it's, well, for Frost, you already know, like, your Frozen Orb is easy to reset. You have Cone of Cold to reset it, or you have your Blizzard to help reset it.
Yep.
So you can get splinters like crazy with your Frozen Orb as well.
Yeah.
And the last choice node is between Volatile Magic. So whenever a splinter is removed or recalled, it explodes, dealing damage to nearby enemies. Deals damage reduced beyond 5 targets. Or you have Engineering Proficiency. So for Arcane, each time you conjure a splinter, it increases the damage to your next supernova by 18% second to 30 times. That is interesting, because right now no one runs supernova. But I could see potentially, if you got like a lot of splinters going out during your cooldowns and your orbs, supernova stacking up 18% 30 times could be a pretty big hit, I'd imagine. But yeah, right now no one takes supernova, so I mean, it's kind of always nice that when you have certain talent or hero talents that kind of help you use talents that maybe aren't used right now. Which is like, I'm not gonna try to get off topic here, but the one that stands out for me is certain evoker talents that are kind of maybe will be useful with certain hero talents or whatever. So it's nice to see certain talents maybe making a comeback. For Frost, it's the same. Each time you conjure a splinter, it increases the damage of the next Ice Nova by 6% second to 30 times. Ice Nova is what you always run already, so you don't have to change talents for that. And then that's still a nice little damage increase too.
Yeah.
I do not know if Volatile Magic will be better. Depends on how much damage the splinters do.
Right. Yeah. I'm kind of wondering, like, I feel
Or
like
like
in
how
Mythic,
long the stacks buff is.
yeah, I feel like in Mythic Plus, the volatile magic definitely has the potential to be much stronger
I
than
agree.
Engineering
Yeah.
Proficiency, but Ice Nova is an AoE ability too, correct?
Yes.
Like, I mean, again, and 30 times 6. What's the cooldown on Ice Nova?
Ooh, like, I don't know, 15 seconds, something like that.
Okay. So the splinters, since it stacks up to 30 times, you get a maximum of 180% increased damage on that Ice Nova. But I don't know. I think Volatile Magic and Mythic Plus is potentially going to be better because
Okay,
also
so it's,
look,
sorry, it's 25-second cooldown.
gotcha. Um, so what Volatile Magic reminds me of, the way that, and the way that what these splinters in general are kind of reminding me of, is it feels like it has potential to have quadratic scaling, which is what the old Unholy DK Epidemic abilities used to do. I don't know if they still do it or not, but like, I don't know if you remember whenever we watched MDI during, like, I don't know if it was BFA or if it was in Legion or not, BFA or Shadowlands, but you would see, everyone else is doing 100k DPS, and you'd see Unholy DKs doing like 2 million DPS in Mythic Plus, just dwarfing everyone else because of the quadratic scaling. It would do like they would do like, this is before they put the AoE caps on everybody as well. So this was BFA then. But yeah, I mean, like that's what this reminds me of, is kind of that it may not have quadratic scaling, but it feels like it could have quadratic scaling.
Yeah.
But I do like the way I like the volatile magic ability personally. Just me. I think that's what I would personally go with.
And like stacking up your splinters and then having them kind of like tick off or explode, and then having the volatile magic going at the same time. I like how a lot of the talents work. It's like stacking them with splinters, having them explode, then coming back to you, and then exploding. It's just, I think it has potential to do some serious damage. I do have one more talent to go through, but before I get to that, I do think that Spellslinger is better for Arcane than it is for Frost. I think Frost is still. I think Frost is still very good. I just think with like certain ability, I don't know. Maybe it'd be fine for both. I'm sure it's fine for both, but I kind of feel like for Arcane it's slightly better. But I mean, I could be wrong. And the last talent is just the small little buff. It's Force of Will. You gain 2% increased critical strike chance and gain 5% increased critical strike damage. That's just a flat buff. So those are the mage trees. The last one to come is Sun Fury, and that's the Arcane Fire, and that'll probably be out in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, hopefully. See when we get all of the last remaining hero talents.
Yeah,
I think so. Just from what I'm looking at here, I feel like in Mythic Plus, I think Spellslinger, regardless of Frost or Arcane, is going to be
better.
The way, like, obviously we don't know what the other Arcane tree looks like, but
yeah,
I definitely think Spellslinger looks very strong for Mythic Plus, and I think that for Frost mages, Frostfire is probably going to be better for Raid.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what the general idea that I'm seeing here. It looks like there's a lot more AoE focus on Spellslinger. The Spellslinger one, again, what I'm curious about, I want to see what those splinters and everything look like visually.
Yeah.
Like, just, that's what I'm most interested about. Like, it looks strong and everything, but I'm just curious because it sounds awesome. Like, Splinter Storm sounds really cool visually. And I really want to see it. I want to see it in action just to see visually what they've done with that.
Me too. Yeah, it's very exciting to see like these spells that are like completely new, or the new effects and stuff. It's just
right.
And this is slightly off topic, but like it touched into some other hero talent trees that I think visually are gonna have some really cool abilities. Like I think the Druid's massive attack in that one tree could look very cool for Feral and Guardian.
Yep.
And I also think certain abilities with the Frost Death Knight and the Unholy Death Knight can look really cool as well. So it's just nice to see like some effort put into like, I mean, we don't know yet, but I mean, I'm sure that some of these are going to look visually really cool.
Yeah. All right, so those are the mage trees. So now let's jump into Paladin. We're going to go over Lightsmith and the Templar. Lightsmith is for the Holy and Prot Pallies, and Templar is for the Retribution and Prot Pallies.
I chose these first time going through them as well.
Yeah, I chose these because I know Prot Pally somewhat. I can play it pretty well. So Lightsmith, we'll start there. For Holy and Prot Pallies, just right off the bat, I wasn't super impressed with this tree. It has some problems. So the very first talent is your core bread and butter, as is the same with all these hero talents. Holy Armaments. So you will the light to coalesce and become manifest at a target location as a holy armament, which may be wielded by you or your allies. Alternates between Holy Bulwark and Sacred Weapon. That's the first issue. Lasts 20 seconds after being cast and max of 2 charges. So it alternates between Holy Bulwark and Sacred Weapon. You don't have control over which one you want to use. It's just whichever one is available, you use it, and then the next one is what's up next. You just got to go back and forth. So also the way that this works is it's a target location. It's not a target, the target location. So you're going to drop it just like you would Death and Decay or a Sigil of Flame something like that, or blizzard, and then either you or your ally has to run into it to activate it. So Holy Bulwark, while wielding a Holy Bulwark, you gain an Absorb Shield for 15% of your maximum health and an additional 5% every 2 seconds, stacking up to 30%. It doesn't say how long it lasts for, so I'm not exactly sure time-wise how that works. But if it goes up to, I guess it doesn't matter, because if it goes an additional 5% every 2 seconds, stacked up to 30%, it's going to last for a maximum of 6 seconds before it stops stacking. Or not 6, 12 seconds before it stops stacking. Anyway, the other option is Sacred Weapon, which while wielding a Sacred Weapon, your spells and abilities have a chance to deal additional holy damage or healing. So that sounds pretty good. So basically you have an Absorb Shield or do damage. Now, in pretty much every situation, no one really cares about the Holy Bulwark other than the tank is kind of useful for it. But your tank is probably your I guess if you're a Holy Pally, that ability could be, Holy Bulwark has some more use for it because you can drop it on the tank. But if you're already the tank, from a prop Pally perspective, this seems pretty weak for Holy Bulwark because you're really just popping it for yourself more than anyone else. So anyway, we'll go down to the middle first because I think it makes more sense to start there. It has some kind of core abilities with this. So Solidarity is the first talent in the middle node. If an ally picks up an armament, you also gain its benefits. If you pick up an armament, then a nearby ally also gains its benefits. So it works similar to how Power Infusion currently works for Priest, where you put it on, if someone else, whenever you put it, you're also going to get it even if you're not the beneficiary of the ability. So if someone else grabs it, you're going to have it. If you grab it, someone else will get the buff as well. So it's always going to buff 2 people, which again is why Holy Bulwark kind of useless if you're a prop pally, because you put it on yourself, but other people aren't really needing that Absorb Shield probably. Obviously Sacred Weapon, you're always going to want to have a DPS grab that one to get the bonus damage most likely. So then you have your first choice node in the middle talent for the middle section. You have Divine Inspiration and Forewarning. So Divine Inspiration, your spells and abilities have a chance to manifest a holy armament nearby, and Forewarning reduces the cooldown of holy armaments by 20%. Personally, I think I'd like Divine Inspiration, but I would want to know the proc rate first. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's the vibe I'm getting right now. It's kind of like an Augie kind of feel.
Yes, except with an Augie, you just target the person and put the spell on them. And this,
Yeah, true.
you have to place the spell on the ground, and then somebody has to run into it to trigger it and get it. So it's kind of it's a weird design. That's the first flaw with it.
Not that this would solve it, but I think it might help if it had the same effect as the Evoker Legendary, where it sends something out and it goes to an ally, as opposed to having to pick it up.
That definitely would be better.
Yeah.
I also think it could just be that you just put it on a person. Let you, like if you could just target a person with it, I think that would be way better. Now with macros and stuff, you might be able to get it to drop on the location of a person. You just have to change, whoever it is that you want it. It kind of makes it frustrating because if you're wanting, like, Holy Bulwark would just always be going onto a DPS player, and it'd just be putting both buffs on the same person all the time, most likely, when you're actually using the ability. But then, like with Divine Inspiration here, where it has a chance to put an armament nearby, you're still gonna have to run into that one. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And it adds visual effects to an already cluttered Mythic Plus visual effect system. We already have enough spell effects. We don't necessarily need to be adding more on the ground that you have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
But no, so then Valiance is the final talent in this row. Consuming Shining Light or Infusion of Light extends the duration of any active armaments by 3 seconds, or reduces the cooldown by 3 seconds if there are no armaments active at the moment. So it's whatever.
Yeah.
The final talent is Blessing of the Forge. And I do like this one. Avenging Wrath summons an additional sacred weapon And during Avenging Wrath, your sacred weapon casts spells on your target and echoes the effects of your holy power abilities. I like that. That's cool. They got that right. All right, so going up to the top left talent, you choose its choice node, so you're choosing between Rite of Sanctification, which will imbue your weapon with the power of the light, increasing your armor by 5% and your primary stat by 1%, lasts for 1 hour. And it's a weapon imbuement. So
Interesting.
it's interesting. I think probably as a DPS, a DPS or a tank, you're probably going to go with that.
Well, it's only a holy
true. Yeah,
and a prot.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, I was thinking it was a buff that you put on everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're probably gonna go with that as a tank. And Rite of Adjuration imbues your your weapon with the power of the light, increasing your stamina by 3% and causing your holy power spenders to sometimes unleash a burst of healing around the target. But obviously, that one you're probably gonna choose that if you're a healer. I think those two are fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Now, my only question is, if with a weapon imbuement, does that mean you won't be able to use stuff like Howling Runes or whatever with it? I wonder. Because I know Enhanced Shaman, like if you have like Flame Tongue weapon or whatever, like that kind of stuff, you can't combine those with a rune. You have to pick
it's kind of weird because rogues can use poisons and runes as well.
Right.
You would think they'd make the same for shamans.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if maybe this is going to have to replace a rune, which honestly, I mean, if you have to choose between this and a rune, honestly, looking at this stuff, I feel like I'd rather just take the rune than either of these.
Right. Because that 1% primary stat seems pretty weak.
Yes, yeah, it really is.
And even the 5% armor is not huge either.
No, it's not. Again, this is very, very. Both of those abilities are not great.
Yeah.
Anyway, second talent there, Laying Down Arms. When an armament fades from you, the cooldown of Lay on Hands is reduced by 15 seconds, and you gain Shining Light or Infusion of Light. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know what Shining Light or Infusion of Light is. I probably should since I play Prot Pally, but let me look that up real quick.
Shining Light's like your AoE blind, isn't it?
No, I don't. No, that's like holy something. All right, what is it again? It is Shining Light or Infusion of Light. Shining Light Paladin is every 3 shields of the righteous make your next word of glory cost no holy power. Oh, okay. That's not terrible. I'm guessing that the holy light or infusion of light is probably similar. Paladin is it's for holy, so it works in conjunction with holy shock. What does it do? Your critical holy shocks empower your next spell cast. Okay, so it's buffing. It's a little proc. I know what that is now. Yeah, I mean that's all right, I guess. It's nothing great. It's basically just allowing your word of glory to be instant cast on other people and not cost stuff. So it's all right. Shared Resolve. The effect of your active aura is increased by 33% on targets with your armaments. I mean, it's so weak. That's so terrible. Like, it's really not that great. That's a very, very weak talent. Probably the weakest talent in this whole tree, honestly. So then, on the top right, you've got a choice between Divine Guidance and Blessed Assurance. Divine Guidance, for each holy power ability cast, your next consecration does additional holy damage or healing split across all enemies up to a fixed total. That's the first talent in this node that I'm actually like, oh, I like that one.
Yeah.
Blessed Assurance. Casting a holy power spender increases the damage and healing of your next Crusader Strike, Blessed Hammer, or Hammer of the Righteous by 100%. Okay, so both of those are not terrible. Just some damage buffs. I'm not sure which one I would take, honestly. I feel I feel like maybe Blessed Assurance is probably the stronger.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I think Blessed Assurance is probably stronger. I guess it just depends on what is the damage increase of your consecration, like how much extra damage does it do?
Increase the damage and healing of your
It doesn't say.
Hammer or, well, it says. So it says the healing of your next, or damage or healing of your next Crusader Strike, Blessed Hammer, or Hammer of the Righteous by 100%.
Yeah, we know that one. I'm talking about consecration, like for each holy power ability cast, how much is it going to increase your consecration damage by?
Oh.
Because the tooltip doesn't say. It just says up to a fixed total.
Oh yeah, Blessed Assurance, yeah.
So like, because I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. The Blessed Assurance, Blessed Hammer, you're using as a prop pally all the time.
Yeah.
So like, and pretty much you're going to use it at least once between every single holy power spender. So like, that's a good increase. So like I said, that's where it comes into play. Like, how strong is the consecration additional damage? We don't have that answer, so I'd say right now Blessed Assurance is better.
Yeah.
And then the last choice node that we've got, which you've got 4 choice nodes for this tree, which is more than most.
Most have 3, yeah.
Yeah, most have 3. I've seen a couple with 4, but most have 3. So anyway, this one is Fear No Evil. While wielding an armament, the duration of fear effects is reduced by 50%. That is going to be very, very. You have to have very specific. Yeah, it's very specific times when you would maybe want that, and I don't think that one's going to be good at all. Excoriation, probably what everyone's going to go with here.
It still sounds like that sucks as well.
Yes, enemies within 5 yards of Hammer of Justice's target are slowed by 15%, but at least like that, I mean, and Mythic Plus, how often are we feared?
Like never.
Yeah, I mean, the only time you get feared is if you mess up a mechanic. So, we're at least, Hammer of Justice, you're going to stun stuff quite often as a pally. So, you get a little slow. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Then the final talent here is Hammer and Anvil. Judgment critical strikes cause a shockwave around the target, dealing additional holy damage or healing at the target's location. I like that one. So that's basically 2 out of 11 talents I think are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm really not impressed with this at all. Like I said, I like Blessing the Force. So 3 talents I like in this whole thing. But yeah, the biggest issue with this tree and from what I've read and why I so agree with it is the Holy Armaments way it's going to work is with you targeting the ground and not a player. You have to cast it, and if you're not using a macro, you're just going to get a targeting reticule when you hit the button. Then you have to click the targeting reticule on the ground. Then somebody has to run into it to activate it. So there's 3 phases of that ability. And you're going to have to coordinate and find out who it is that you want to have that. Also, what happens whenever you drop it and all of a sudden, right where you dropped it, boom, here's a big AoE effect happening and everyone has to stay out of it. And now your armor is just sitting there with nobody able to go and get it. I think this would be much better off if you were able to cast it at a player rather than dropping it on the ground.
Yeah.
I think that would be the ultimate solution to this. It's unique. It's interesting. I credit for thinking outside the box here, but I just feel like it missed the mark, and this whole tree probably needs a pretty big rework and some big changes to it to be used ever. Because as you're about to see, just the first 2 talents on the Templar tree are better than the entire whole Lightsmith tree. Yeah. So, with that being said, what are your thoughts on Lightsmith before we move forward?
I think it's kind of interesting. I wouldn't say like I'm excited for it. I think the idea of some of the abilities is kind of cool. They don't seem very strong, and I don't see it being very good for holy or prot, to be honest. I don't really know much about healers or tanks, but just from like hearing you talk about it and kind of reading as you go through, it's just very underwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think what it's going to come down to, what this tree does is it places a lot of emphasis on just utility more
Yeah.
than damage. And ultimately,
Mhm.
like Mythic Plus, who are the top tanks? The ones that can dish out a bunch of damage.
Yeah.
Like that's how it always is. In Raid, it is typically which tank can do the most single target damage without sacrificing too much defensiveness. And in Mythic
Yeah.
Plus, who can do the most AoE damage without sacrificing too much defensiveness.
Hmm.
And this thing just, I mean, there's only 3 talents that really give you a decent chunk of damage. And then
Yeah.
the Armament, every other Armament will get you damage. The other one doesn't give you any damage at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they missed. I think they missed with this tree.
Yeah, it feels very weak, and I'm curious because this is the first one that we've done that is tank and healer focused.
Yeah.
I So I'm curious to see like stuff like on the monk. I want to see what the Brewmaster and Mistweaver tree looks like. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
I I don't think there's any other trees that combine a healer and tank, because even with Druid, I think that the healer got combined with um, Barrel
Yeah.
and Balance. So
Yeah. So the guardian was guardian and feral, then guardian
and
and balance.
yeah, so they're all damage oriented. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see, and honestly,
The
let me
monk.
look the monk one.
Yeah, the monk is
They
not
don't,
out yet.
yeah, they don't have the Brewmaster and monk and Mistweaver one yet. But like, I just don't see, especially after we go over the Templar tree, I don't see any situation, Raid, Mythic Plus, Arena, nothing, where a holy or prop pally is going to take Lightsmith over
Yeah.
Templar. Or
Yeah.
over Herald. I don't know about Herald's Sun. I haven't looked at it that much, but I
I
imagine it's going to be a
I heard
lot
it's
stronger.
I heard it's good.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I
this
don't like I said, I
Lightsmith.
don't know much about it, but I've heard that it's up there for some of the best that have come out so far.
Yeah, no, this Lightsmith one just seems like it's hardly giving any kind of damage increase, and especially just this compared to reading the other hero talents that we've seen.
Yeah.
There's just, I mean, this doesn't even come close to scraping what other talent trees can do. Like,
I don't, this is very off topic, but I just gotta compare this. This Lightsmith is just as bad as the Rogue one, the Trickster, and it just the only thing that's positive I can say about this is that they released it early enough and got enough feedback that there's time to change it or
yeah,
buff it.
I
And I think that's the
definitely,
promising side of it is that it's still very early and we have plenty of time for these trees to make a spectacular comeback.
yeah, I definitely think that some of these talents just need to be completely scrapped and redone.
Yeah.
Like shared resolve, the effect of your aura is increased by 33% with targets that have your armor. That whole talent, it just doesn't. There's no point in that talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so dumb. Like big whoop. So the person who has an arm in it now will deal a little bit of damage if they get hit. Like it's if you're using the ret aura. Who cares? Like they
No,
shouldn't be getting hit.
my
It's just
question is will these armaments drop mainly on melee and never range if you have too many melee?
it's wherever you put it at.
Oh, you can actually target it?
Yeah, you have to target it.
Oh, that's kind of
So
annoying.
yeah, so like I said, there's 2 ways that people are going to do this. Either an at player macro,
Hmm.
which I'm not
I
sure
don't know if those are allowed.
they are. Yeah,
Because
you can definitely do that.
because I remember this is a little bit off topic, but back in Miss Pandaria, when orb botting was a thing for Mistweavers, when they just drop orbs on people's, there was a like this thing that people would buy off the internet that just like it's like a macro, and they end up banning that. So that's why I was curious.
Well, that's probably because if it's not an in, I don't know. Because like vengeance, like tank DHs can do it 100% because you can
Oh,
target.
sigil. That's
Yeah,
right.
you can make your macros with
Yeah.
sigils target yourself. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know as far as an at player macro, like because an at player macro is going to target yourself, so that's very
Yeah.
easy to do. I don't know if you can make it drop on another player. I don't know if that's possible or not. Um, but the obvious choice would be an at cursor macro. But those aren't
Yeah.
perfect. There are times
Yeah.
whenever, if you're in the heat of battle, you don't even know where your mouse is all the time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know I lose my mouse all the time.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
I've
I'm never paying attention.
and then also like I've done it. I did it several times just last night with my death and decay, with my blood decay. I go to drop my death and decay, and I drop it completely in the wrong spot where I do not want it at. Um,
Yeah.
So I think the solution to that would be to make it just a spell that you can just cast on a player. And then just you and that player get the buff. I think that was be the simple, easy, common sense solution.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just feel like there's a lot, like the weapon imbuements. I don't see any situation that those imbuements are better than a rune with how they're currently at.
Yeah.
So if you can't use both the rune and that, I mean, I don't even want the talent. Like, I think that talent needs to be completely redone. Um, I think the middle section is fine. Like, I don't have any problem with the middle section. Other than
I
nothing on
think
it really does damage. It just kind of allows you to get more armaments out, which is fine.
Yeah, I think that stood out for me is probably the best talent here, or one of the best, was Blessed Assurance. Like the extra
Yes,
damage. I think
yes, that
I
one
think
sounds
that's a
really good.
good talent.
Yeah, and the hammer and anvil is also really good. For your judgment,
Yeah.
your judgment crits become an AOE damage. So like I like
Yeah.
that.
Like
But
those
anyway,
talents are pretty good.
but let's go ahead and jump into Templar, and then you can
Yeah.
just see just how bad Lightsmith looks compared to Templar. Because in the first, I'm telling you, these first two talents I'll go over, it
Yeah.
already seems like those two talents alone produce more damage than the entire Lightsmith tree. Um, all right, so Templar is for Ret and Prot Pallies. As a Prot, just gonna say you're gonna take this every time over Lightsmith right now in the current iteration. I don't care what content you're doing,
Yeah.
PvP, PvE, Raid, Mythic Plus, don't care. You're gonna take this every time.
Yeah.
So Light's Guidance is the core ability here, and I love this. I'm very excited actually to play a Prot Pally with this.
Hmm.
It's a nice way. So for protection, for Prot Pally, Eye of Tear, which is an AoE ability that hits everything around you, and it reduces the damage that you take by 25% for like 12 seconds or 10 seconds. I can't remember exactly, but it's a nice offensive and defensive cooldown. When you use Eye of Tear, or for Ret Pally, if you use Wake of Ashes, which is a big AoE hitting ability that also gives you like all your holy power, right?
Yeah, it
Um,
does. Yeah.
so after you use one of those abilities, is your Prot or Ret, that same ability button, it's the same button. It just that ability gets replaced with an ability called Hammer of Light for 12 seconds. So anytime in those next 12 seconds, you can just press your same keybind for Eye of Tear or Wake of Ashes, and it's going to cast Hammer of Light instead. What Hammer of Light does is you hammer down your enemy with the power of the light, dealing holy damage to the target and up to 4 nearby enemies. Additionally, it calls down Empyrean hammers from the sky to strike 3 nearby enemies for holy damage. So it's just a massive AoE ability. Now
Especially.
it does cost 5
Oh,
holy
five.
power,
Okay.
but
But you get
but
5 from.
as a Ret Pally, when you use your Wake of Ashes, you're gonna get that holy power right there. As a
Yeah.
Prot Pally, what I was telling you earlier was typically my rotation if I have all cooldowns available and you do a massive pull to start, you're hitting Avenger Shield or Avenging Wrathomane, and then I'm popping Eye of Tear second, and then I pop Divine Toll. And the Divine Toll is gonna hit 5 targets and it's gonna give you 5 holy power. So right there, you're ready to then hit Hammer of Light. So you're just doing Avenging Wrath to increase all your damage by 20%, and then you're doing 3 massive AoE abilities. Like the burst from Prot Pally, just from this alone, is awesome for Mythic Plus. Like I
Yeah.
can this is huge for threat generation. When you have all 3 of those abilities lined up together, you're not pulling threat from a Prot Pally at that point. Like I love this.
Yeah.
I love this so much. What were you gonna say though?
Oh no. I was mistaken. I was about to say I misread the cost 5 holy power. I thought it said gives 5 holy power.
Oh,
So I was gonna say like Wake of Ashes into a divine storm, into a hammer of light, into a divine. I had read
right.
that wrong. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool to replace like an ability with another ability that does damage.
Yes.
It's kind of like a combo ability. It's
Yep. No,
just very
I
cool. I wonder what it's going to look like visually too, because like along with those mage ability, like those hero talents, some of these stuff is going to look really cool in game. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
well, and so like real quick, this hammer of the Empyrean hammers that come down, it strikes 3 nearby enemies for holy damage. So your Hammer of Light is already doing damage to up to 4 nearby enemies,
Yeah.
and then you're calling down 3 hammers. Now, real quick, we'll touch on this first talent on the right side because it ties into
Okay.
that. When Empyrean Hammer critically strikes, 60% of its damage is dealt to nearby enemies.
My goodness.
So if they critically hit, there's more AoE on top of all the AoE you're already doing with your opener. Like, as a prop pally, I am just in love with this talent tree.
And it's getting the damage reduced as well.
Yes,
5%, not
yeah,
huge, but I mean, that's still nice for
so
everybody it's hit.
yep. So any enemies that are hit by Empyrean Hammer, do reduce 5% damage to you for 8 seconds. That's,
It's
again,
like nice little
it's
bonus.
another, yeah, it's a nice little whatever. It's
Yeah.
a nice little damage reduction. So anyway, on the well, I guess we'll just finish on the right side of the tree. So on the
Yeah.
right side, the middle node, you have a choice between Bonds of Fellowship, which causes you to receive 20% less damage from Blessing of Sacrifice, and each time its target takes damage, you gain 4% movement speed up to a maximum of 40%,
That's
which
pretty
is,
for
it's
PvP.
not bad. Yeah, I mean, it's also decent for like Mythic Plus probably and stuff and Raid. If you're like me and you always fail to ever use Blessing of Sacrifice a single time, I think I've used Blessing of Sacrifice one time this entire season because I'm just a bad prop pally and don't ever use that. So maybe I don't. If that's something I've learned, if it's an ability that I'm supposed to use, but I find that I just never use it, instead of improving and becoming good at my class, I just stop taking that talent. Do something else. So I will probably always go with Unrelenting Charger, which makes Divine Steed last 2 seconds longer and increase your movement speed by an additional 30% for the first 3 seconds.
So did that put
Um,
you at 90% or
Probably.
100?
I'm not
I
100.
wasn't
I'm
sure
not
if it,
sure. I think it's 90.
okay. I wasn't sure if it was 60 or 70% straight up.
I don't know off the top of my head, honestly.
I think it's 70. I mean, it might be
It
60.
could
I
be.
don't know. I'm not sure.
So then this talent again. This talent actually means you don't even need to use Divine Toll. You could. I didn't even notice this one. So Undisputed Ruling, the final talent on the right side here. Hammer of Light applies Judgment to its targets and increases your haste by 15% for 6 seconds. So that's amazingly.
Yeah.
Additionally, for Prop Pally, Eye of Tyr will grant 3 Holy Power. So
Nice.
technically, I could run. You don't have to use a Divine Store or Divine Toll right after using Eye of Tyr, because you're going to get 3 Holy Power, so you just generate 2, and then cast your Hammer of Light. Then you would cast your Divine Toll and get 5
Yeah.
Holy Power. Like, that's a pretty nice combo.
Yeah, that sounds pretty deadly.
So now on the left side, yeah. So on the left side here, you choose between Templar's Watch. So for protection, Prop Pally, Hammer of Light, and Eye of Tyr deal 30% increased damage when striking only one enemy. This amount is reduced by 6% for each additional target struck. So that's kind of nice for Tyrannical Weeks and for raiding. Just get that extra damage bonus. For Retribution, basically it's the exact same thing, just for a Hammer of Light and Wake of Ashes, you're going to deal 30% increased damage when you're only hitting one enemy, reduced by 6% for each additional target struck. So again, really, really good for raiding. The other option is for Whom the Bell Tolls, and Divine Toll grants up to 100% increased damage to your next 3 judgments when striking only one enemy. The amount is reduced by 20% for each additional target struck. So again, it's not bad. This talent node is a lot about single target rather than AoE, which is fine. The next talent on the left side is Sacrosanct Crusade. For protection, when you cast Eye of Tyr, you gain Shield of Vengeance at 10% effectiveness. Nice little just extra defensive ability to start a pull with. Retribution, same thing. Wake of Ashes will give you Shield of Vengeance at 10% effectiveness. So nice little
defensive.
shield, yeah. Which again, like, I really like what this whole talent tree does for an opening rotation for a prop pally, because you're just pumping mad AoE damage and buffing up your defensiveness for the entire pool. Like, it's really, really nice.
Not trying to say the talent tree's not good, but the one thing I would say about this Crusade talent he's went through, I think it would be better, instead of having a Vengeance at 10% effectiveness, maybe having an Absorb for 10% of the damage dealt.
Yeah, that could be nice.
I think that would have been probably a lot stronger. but I think that'd
potentially,
be
yes.
cool. I think it'd be cooler. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the tree is really good. I was just
yes.
thinking about that.
Yeah, so then the final talent on the left side here is another choice node between Endless Wrath. Calling down an Empyrean Hammer has a 10% chance to reset the cooldown of Hammer of Wrath and make it usable on any target regardless of their health. Because normally you can only use that when they're below 30% or 35%, one of the two.
Yeah.
Or you can choose Sanctification, which casting Judgment increases the damage of Empyrean Hammer by 10% for 10 seconds. Multiple applications may overlap. I don't know which one I like there better. I'm not sure. I think I'd have to. They're both pretty similar, I feel like, but I'd have to definitely do some number crunching to determine which one would be stronger. They both seem pretty single target oriented.
Yeah.
I guess potentially Sanctification could, if your Empyrean Hammer becomes a crit, that could be some massive AoE damage. So for Mythic Plus, you might probably... I imagine Mythic Plus, you're probably going to take Sanctification just for that chance alone. The middle section here. Shake the Heavens. After casting... Alright, so keep in mind, when you cast Hammer of Light, you call down 3 Empyrean Hammers onto 3 enemies. Shake the Heavens. After you cast Hammer of Light, you call down an Empyrean Hammer on a nearby target every 2 seconds for 8 seconds. So let's put it this way. When you cast Hammer of Light, you are essentially getting 7 Empyrean Hammers that are coming down.
I think that makes that Sanctification choice node better, because then your Judgment increases Empyrean Hammer by 10%.
I agree. Yeah, no, I think, and especially when you take into account that if an Empyrean Hammer critically strikes, 60% of its damage is gonna hit nearby enemies. Yeah. So if you have Judgment is increased, if you've got it to where you got 20% more damage for Empyrean Hammer, that's also gonna apply to the AoE splash, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So I really think this has a really nice opening combo. So the next option, or the next talent node in the middle here, is Higher Calling. For Protection Pally, Crusader Strike, Hammer of Wrath, and Judgment extend the duration of Shake the Heavens by 1 second. Which Shake the Heaven.
I'm not sure
and
what
then
that is.
For Ret, Crusader Strike, Hammer of Wrath, and Blade of Justice extend the duration of Shake the Heavens.
Shake the Heavens is the talent right above the one we just went through.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's my brain didn't even.
Me too. I didn't process that either.
So that extends the duration by 1 second.
So you get maybe another.
You probably get another
hammer.
2.
Yeah.
I bet you're getting another. Yeah, you're probably getting 2 extra Empyrean Hammers. So you're looking at, again, when you cast Hammer of Light, that's now 9 Empyrean Hammers with a chance that if they critically strike, you're going to do massive AoE damage with all of those as well. That's the Mythic Plus potential for Templar Tree is really, really cool.
It looks insanely strong,
especially compared to Lightsmith. All right, so continue on. We got two more talents to cover here, including the Capstone talent. I don't even know what it does. I haven't even looked. Hammerfall. The third talent in the middle, Hammerfall for protection. Shield of the Righteous and Word of Glory calls down an Empyrean Hammer on a nearby target. Again, more Empyrean Hammers. While Shake the Heavens is active, this effect calls down an additional Empyrean Hammer. I just, holy cow, man. For Ret, Templar Verdict and Divine Storm calls down the hammer, and again, you get the additional one with Shake the Heavens. I mean, it's just so good.
They really hit the mark with this one.
Yes. And then the final Capstone talent, Light's Deliverance. You gain a stack of Light's Deliverance when you call down an Empyrean Hammer. At 50 stacks, casting Hammer of Light empowers you for 12 seconds to cast Hammer of Light an additional time for free. So you could get double two Hammer of Lights and just restart the process over again. And I definitely feel like that's something where you would want to you cast your Eye of Tear, Wake of Ashes, and then whenever you're ready to, you cast your Hammer of Light. But I also feel like you would want to wait until that last second to cast your second one, just because if that second one works with all the other stuff like Shake the Heavens, you're doubling up your time for Shake the Heavens and all that, your uptime on it. So I mean, potentially with that ability, when you have a 50 stacks, you're looking at keeping Shake the Heavens active for 20 to 22, 24 seconds. And every 2 seconds, you're getting an Empyrean Hammer coming down. Like, that's really, really good. So yeah, that's the Templar tree. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
If I had to rate the trees that we did tonight, it goes Templar, Spellslinger, Frostfire, Lightsmith.
I agree 100%. Yeah, I agree 100% with that.
I think visually, I think Templar's better than the Mage trees as well. I'm going to point that out. I think the Mage trees is going to have potential to look great. I think Templar has going to be amazing visually.
Yes, because like I mean, listen, Prot Pally already has one of the coolest visual effects with Divine Toll and Avenger Shield. And now you're just going to be dropping hammers from the sky on people. Like, it has potential to be really cool visually for sure. I'm very excited about it to see how this whole tree plays out. Yeah, I mean, like, what are your thoughts on just the sheer massive gap between Templar and Lightsmith? Like, if you think there's a gap, which I mean, I don't know how you can't, but
yeah, I think Lightsmith could be cool. I think they need to change like half the talents. I don't think buffing them would be enough. I think they need to just rework some of them.
Yeah,
as far as Templar goes, go on.
I would say the only way that Lightsmith could compete potentially would be if Sacred Weapon does so much damage, like the additional holy damage does so much damage that it's like Augie was at the start, where it's just such a massive buff. That's the only way where it comes close. Because nothing else in there, I mean, it's so weak. You're talking like maybe if, like, honestly, looking at it, I am looking at with Lightsmith tree, I would expect maybe 5% increase in damage at best.
Templar's like 50.
Yeah, Templar's just massive damage, man.
That's the bonus of having a tank tree mixed with a DPS tree. They have to have that damage for the DPS. So it's naturally buffing the tanks.
Yep, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm curious to see what the Brewmaster and Mistweaver looks like if it's as weak as Lightsmith, because those are the only two trees that where we have a healer and a tank combined. And like, I understand that obviously those two roles, they're not there to deal damage, but especially not the healer. But when you have, I mean, Herald of the Sun, I imagine is going to be much stronger for Holy Pallies than Lightsmith is. I haven't looked through it, but I don't see any way it's not.
I haven't looked through it either. I just heard really good things about Herald of the Sun as well.
Yeah, just Lightsmith seems very, very
underwhelming.
It seems weak. It seems boring.
Yeah.
And it seems like a all right, here's the thing. It seems weak and boring and complex because of the interaction of how the armaments are cast. Like, it just seems like a bunch of work for very little reward.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, on the Templar tree as a Prot Pally, literally, I'm going to come into the start of a pool, and I'm going to press 1, 2, 3, 2. So my first is going to be Avenging Wrath, and then I'm going to press Eye of Tear, and then I'm going to press probably Judgment, because Judgment will give you 2 holy power whenever we'd have Avenging Wrath. So that's Judgment gives a second holy power with Avenging Wrath. So right there's 3 abilities, and now you're ready to cast Hammer of Light, and then you cast Divine Toll, and then you cast Shield of Righteous, and you're just doing massive AoE damage. I mean, just massive AoE damage.
I would even dare to say that this Templar tree for Prot Pally is more damage than the Deathbringer tree for Blood DK is.
I think so, because the Blood DK one your real damage is going to come when it explodes, which is going to
Yeah.
be a minimum of or a maximum of 12 seconds, but probably at best you're talking 9 to 12 seconds into it. This is
Yeah.
all just, I mean, this is just freaking instant damage.
Yeah.
A
lot less work required.
Yes. Yeah, no, like I said, your first 6 GCDs, you're just pumping massive damage. Like, if we had these hero talents right now, so when I burst on my prop pally, I can probably hit 300k right now with his gear, and I bet you I would hit 600k with this hero talent tree.
Yeah.
Like, just it's just so it's massive burst. And you know me, I love massive burst damage.
Me too.
Now, I was a little concerned at first with, sustained wise, how's this going to work? But with that Shake the Heavens ability, I mean, that's going to give you some decent sustained buffed damage as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not as concerned with it, honestly. I mean, I really think this has got a lot of beneficial effects.
I'm not saying it needs it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some nerfs.
Oh, definitely. I absolutely think it'll see some nerfs to it. I don't know what exactly they would nerf, but
Yeah,
I would
maybe
expect to see
damage?
some. Yeah, I would expect to see some kind of nerfs from it. I could see them maybe saying, okay, Empyrean Hammer is only gonna hit 2 nearby enemies at the start. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the amount of, I could see maybe the critically hit Empyrean Hammer one would maybe get nerfed to like 40% of its damage is hitting nearby enemies instead of 60%.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, because I think Empyrean Hammer has the potential to deal a ton of extra damage as well.
Yeah.
I think the left side of the tree, I don't really see anything on the left side of the tree that would need a nerf. It's mainly just turning some of your AoE into single target and buffing some of your single target.
Which is fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe, and honestly, it might just be where, hey, the damage from Hammer of Light just gets lowered so that it's not quite as much damage.
Yeah.
I don't think mechanically the way it works, I don't see any issues with it or any need for the mechanics of it to be nerfed. I think it's more just a potentially, and again, that's also the other issues. We don't know how much damage it's going to do, but it sounds like it's going to be strong. But yeah, potentially, I'd say the way you nerf it is just by adjusting the actual amount of damage that it does. Mechanically, I think they hit it on perfectly. I think mechanically, it's very appetizing, intriguing. It's going to be fun. I think they really, really hit it square perfectly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think maybe just the only tuning they would need to do would be just the amount of damage that it puts out. But these hero talents so far have me excited to play Blood DK and Prop Pally. So that's interesting. The Guardian Druid trees, I wasn't super impressed with it. The Feral Druid of the Claw looks interesting, but I mean, there's nothing. It doesn't look as cool as the Blood DK and the Templar tree look.
I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, that is our hero talents for this week. Feel free, give some comments and feedback, whatever your thoughts are. No, just give us comments, feedback, and if you have any requests as to which hero talent trees you want us to cover next, let us know. Because we're always throughout the week going, which one should we do next? Like, I'll probably be focusing on the tank ones. But Mr. Bio here can pretty much do any of the talent trees because he plays so much different stuff. But let us know any feedback, comments, whatever. I think that is pretty much it. I guess real quick, what was your weekend WoW like?
Just Mythic Plus, just getting some last minute gearing on some alts before the season ends. That's basically all I've been doing.
Yep, same. I'm trying to get KSM on as many of my tanks as I can. I've got it on my Demon Hunter since like week 2 or something. And my Druid got it a couple weeks ago, and the Druid, my Monk is lined up to get it next week. DK should be able to get it next week. We'll see tonight as far as the Prot Pally and the Prot Warrior.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to focus on the Prot Pally tonight and the Prot Warrior tomorrow night, and see if we can get them live. The Prot Warrior is going to be the hardest because he's behind on gear quite a bit, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm doing is trying to get KSM and all my tanks, stay in practice on them. I definitely want, because I'm enjoying honestly, I'm enjoying all the tanks except for Guardian Druid, which is funny because Guardian Druid has been my second favorite tank for the longest time.
Yeah.
And I think now that I'm just getting more comfortable and used to all the other tanks, I'm enjoying them more than Guardian.
Right.
Because Guardian is, I mean, let's be fair, like Guardian is easy to play, but it's also boring to play.
Mhm.
But yeah. Anyway, you guys can catch us at our socials. Twitch, I'm at twitch.tv/Buckblind. YouTube, Buckblind and Demon Hunter, which is where you can watch this podcast at. Or on Twitter, I'm at BuckblindDH. You can see all my hot takes on there. Bio, what are your socials?
QQ_Bioshock for Twitch and YouTube.
Yep. We can get you some videos on your YouTube at some point, you know.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna wait until beta, I think.
Yeah, beta would be a good time. Yeah, we'll talk some about after the podcast. 'Cause I got some ideas maybe you'd like to do for beta. I think that you would be really good at doing. So
Sure.
we'll discuss that here in a minute.
Okay.
Just now that you mentioned that, I popped up. I've got some really good potential ideas. Anyway,
Yeah.
So yeah, that is gonna be it, guys. We will see you next week for the next episode of Ctrl Alt Deplete. Thank you all for watching.
See ya.